Okay, welcome back to another GED Social Studies video with me, teacher Mike from Phuket Pals. I hope you're all well today, as well as I am on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Okay, now this is video 4, the final video in this set where I've taken you through a full GED Social Studies test and hopefully given you some insight into the question types that you should expect in the real test, and also the kind of topic areas, the areas of history and of civics, etc., that you should have knowledge about. Okay. Now we're on question 30, I believe, of the test. 31, excuse me. And question 31, we are met immediately with a giant map. Okay. Now don't be afraid of the giant map. Okay, so many students I have over the last 15 years or so, they look at the map and they freak out. They look at the map and go, I have no idea what to do. It's a big map and there's writing all over it and it's just too much. It's overwhelming and it's chaos. It's not. Okay, you need to stop looking at things in their entirety like that. Break things into their smaller constituent parts. Think logically. This is nothing you cannot do. This is just something you need to approach in a more logical way. So how do you do that? Always look at the top of the map first, okay? It tells you the main idea of the map. So it says Europe after World War II. Europe after World War II. So let me grab my pencil here. I feel lost without it. Okay, Europe after World War II, we can see here. And then the next, there's nothing else around the sides. So the next most obvious thing here is the key. Okay, this is the key of the map. And the key of the map tells us what the two colors in the map represent. So the darker color is countries receiving aid, and the lighter color is countries receiving no aid. Now, if you're not sure what aid is money given to, it's given to a country or an organization or whatever that might be, and it's something to try and help them out of a difficult situation. Okay, it may take the form of a loan, money that has to be paid back, but it's when a country or an organization or whatever, when it's in a difficult situation financially, aid may be given. It's almost like charity. And then that aid will help the country or organization get back on its feet, get back in the game, shall we say. Okay, so we have countries receiving aid, countries receiving no aid. Now, what I notice immediately here is there's very much a kind of east-west divide here. If I draw a crude line down the middle, you can see that on this side, in Western Europe, we have mostly countries receiving aid, and then mostly in Eastern Europe here, we have countries receiving no aid. So immediately my mind thinks, why would that be the case? Why would that be the case post-World War II? Well, it's pretty simple. Western Europe, on the whole, it was on the same side, was an ally, a friend, let's say, of the USA in World War II. And Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union was not. It was not on the side of the US. Okay, so after World War II, what we found was that Western Europe was destroyed. It was decimated. They'd lost an entire generation of young men. The economies were suffering. People were getting poorer. There was, just complete decimation everywhere. And what the US did, because the US was on the same side as the Allies who won the war in World War II, the US decided to bring in something called the Marshall Plan. I'll repeat that, the Marshall Plan. Now, what that was economic aid, economic aid given by the US to its ally partners in Western Europe. So all of these countries received aid from the Marshall Plan. And this was an attempt by the US to kind of kickstart the economy of Western Europe post World War II. Because if they didn't, then who's going to buy US products? How would trade work? How would the Western European economies interact with the US economy and get growth? It would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, without this aid. So that's what the Marshall Plan was. And you'll notice that on our map here, the countries in Eastern Europe, they did not receive the aid because they were not on the side of the Allies. So I hope that explains things. That should make our question very easy indeed. It says this is called a drop-down menu, and you'll see these on the real test. So in the real test, you will pick here, you'll click one of these, and then you'll be able to click the correct answer. It'll be self-explanatory in the real test. Obviously, I can't do that on a PDF here, but you get the idea. So the question says, the map shows the countries that received aid under the, well, we've explained it extensively already, the Marshall Plan. Okay. Now, my advice to you guys watching this video is that you should go away and research what is the Warsaw Pact? What is the Truman Doctrine, if you don't know? What is the Great Society and who was responsible for that? Research these things too. And the other videos in this series as well. Don't just take the answer and go, that's great. Look at the wrong answers, research the wrong answers, and find out what these key terms mean as well. Okay? That's the key to success in this test. So let's move on from the Marshall Plan. And we will go to number 32 here. It says that a law passed following the terrorist attacks of September the 11th, 2001, provided the US government with greatly expanded powers to gather intelligence within the US. Okay, so the key here is September the 11th. We all know what happened then, okay, with the terrorist attacks. I'll never forget that day and where I was. It was crazy. But the answer here, you have to know it. It's the Patriot Act. Oh my goodness. Excuse my kindergarten writing here. Patriot Act. We got a jumping A as well. The A is jumping in the air. That's the best I can do, guys, with my little laptop pad here. Apologies. Apologies to YouTube land. But the answer is the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act. What is a patriot? First of all, what is a patriot? Is someone who's very proud of their country. They're very proud of where they come from. So this law was called the Patriot Act. And after the attacks on New York City, etc., in 2001, the US government thought there could be terrorists within the borders of the US. So they brought in the Patriot Act that gave them greater powers to gather intelligence or find out more about people so that they could counter the terrorism that they felt could be imminent, could be just around the corner. Okay, so that's the Patriot Act. Let's move on down. Let's keep going, keep pushing. Push to the burn in the GED test. What do we got? Again, table of information. Don't freak out. Approach it rationally. Income tax table. Again, don't freak out because it's income tax and there's lots of numbers. See what's going on. Taxable income, at least, but less than. Single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of a household. Okay, so this is just how you figure out how much tax you have to pay. Taxable income, so this is how much you earn. Okay, how much of your income can be taxed is taxable. And it's saying if you're a single person, so not married, married people filing jointly, so married people who file their income taxes together, and then married filing separately, so a separate filing within a marriage, and then head of a household. Nothing too complicated there. So, for example, if you earn at least $25,200 a year and you're single, your tax would be $3,359. Okay. If you are earning, let's take the next one, 25,250, and you are the head of a household, well, then you would pay $3,184 to the government in tax. Okay. Let's just look at the question here. I think this is going to be easier than we think. 33. Based on the table, what is the least amount of money that a married couple filing their tax returns jointly would have to earn annually in order to owe 2,949 in taxes. Okay, so there's the amount in tax. We're looking for a married couple filing their tax jointly. Okay, so here's the jointly bit. Married couple joining jointly. And we have 2949. Here's 2949. So then what is the least amount of money that a married couple would have to earn annually every year? So that means the least amount would be here, wouldn't it? It would. That's the least amount they would have. So that's $25,300. So that is a clear answer. It's C here. Okay. Again, don't let these types of questions confuse you. Approach them rationally. Look for the key words, find the key words on the table, and then apply your genius. Okay? So we'll move on. 34. In what year was the stock market crash that started the Great Depression? Okay, well, if you've been reading your GED books, you should know this one. It's a big year in history. It is 1929. Okay, the Wall Street crash. Okay, that is the period of history. If you want to research it, it's probably worth doing so. Wall Street. Okay, Wall Street, as in the head of high finance in the US, crash. Okay, so that's what you can Google or ChatGPT or whatever you prefer and get more information, or YouTube videos, whatever. The Wall Street crash. And also I advise you to check out, do some research on the decade that preceded that. So the decade that came before was also known as the Roaring Twenties. Okay, R-O-A-R, the Roaring Twenties. Okay, I'm just going to write it as a number because I'll be here all day trying to write the letter, but that's 20s. Okay, 20, as in the number 20, not zoos. Let's put a little one of those in there. So that's a two, the number, the 20s. Okay, so when you research on YouTube or wherever, type in roaring and the word 20s, and you will get this. So check these two things out. They're very significant. This stock market crash that came pretty much out of nowhere. It came at a time when there was too much excitement in the stock market. There were investors would call it exuberance. Okay, people thought that they could throw money at any company in the stock market and make an absolute fortune. So the companies themselves in the stock markets were valued way too high. Then everything started to collapse, and a lot of people lost everything. And this was one of the contributing factors to the Great Depression. Okay, so if you don't know what the Great Depression is, please check that out on YouTube as well and do your research. 35. Question 35. What do we got? We got some reading to do. Let's read. During the first quarter of the year, green thumb gardening just broke even. However, during the second quarter of the year, good advertising brought in more customers. Never a bad thing. And the company was finally able to earn more money than it needed to operate. Okay, so it's earning more money than it needed to operate. During the quarter, income from sales exceeded operating costs by 10,000. Okay, so income from sales exceeded, or was more than, exceeded was more than operating costs by 10,000. What term in economics? What is the term in economics for this excess of income over operating costs? Okay, so I can see it already. It's profit. Okay, your operating costs are what you have to pay to make your business work. So what do you have to pay for rent? What do you have to pay your staff? What do you have to pay for your products or whatever that you sell? Okay, that's your operating costs. And then if you have an excess of income over that, it means you're making money. You're making money outside all the money you have to pay for everything else. So it's profit, isn't it? We'll move on. That's an easy one. Use the following illustration for item 36. So what do we got? We got scales here, or like a seesaw. And we have money in circulation, goods and services produced. So here we can see that money in circulation is the amount of money in the economy that is people, there's access to it. Okay, the amount of money that's circulating, that exists in cash form, and then goods and services produced, we can see that's a much heavier load on the right hand side of the seesaw here. So if there are more goods and services being produced than the actual money in circulation, what do you think will happen? Okay, what do you think will happen? There's there's not enough money, there's less money chasing the same amounts of goods and services. So what do you think? Do you think, would it be A, recession? Would it be B, inflation, which is spelt wrong? C, monopoly, or D, deflation? Well, what is a recession? What is a recession? A recession is when you have negative growth. You have an economy that is not growing. It's actually declining. And when you get that for, I think it's 2 or 3 quarters in a row, it economists call it a technical recession. Okay, so you've got negative growth in the economy. That's a recession. Well, that's nothing to do with this, is it? No, it's not. So we'll get rid of that. Inflation. Okay, so inflation is, as you probably know, it's a hot topic at the moment. Inflation is when you have rising prices in the economy. So you get rising price of goods, rising price of services. Not everything, but many things. Inflation is often measured using CPI. Okay, so you'll hear this in the news. The government will talk about the CPI level. They'll say CPI is at, oops, CPI is at 2%. Okay, so what they're saying is that inflation is growing at 2%. Okay, so here this would not be inflationary because there's less money chasing the same amounts of goods and services. Inflation would be when you have more money chasing a smaller amount of goods and services. Okay, because when you have more money chasing a fewer amount of, let's say you want about fewer amount of whatever goods and services it is, people have to pay more. The price goes up. So it can't be inflation. Monopoly. So monopoly is when like one company has complete control over one particular industry. Nothing to do with that. So we're left with deflation, which is also spelt wrong here, but you get the idea. Deflation. So you got less money chasing a large amounts of goods and services. So that means that price must come down. There's too many of these and not enough of this. So that the people who are selling things have to bring their prices down because there's not enough money in circulation to pay for them. So we'll go with deflation with that. Okay. Move on. Let's see. 30, what are we on? 37. Again, graph. Don't panic. Have a look at what's at the top. Household saving rate and wealth percent of household disposable income. Okay, so disposable income, this is how much money that people have to spend at the end of each month or whatever part of the month, but how much money that people have to spend. Okay, so disposable income is income that is extra. We all have to pay a percentage of what we earn every month for our rent or our mortgage and food and all of this. Okay, but disposable income is just how much of this you have at your disposal. What can you spend? How much spending power do you have as a citizen? So we got a graph, which is all squiggly and a bit scary, but not really. We have a broken line and a solid line. Broken line is savings, okay, the savings of the people in this place, and then net worth. So what are we looking for? Let's go down. And we get percentage on the left-hand side. So this is percentages and net worth. People's net worth is over here. How much money they're worth in total. Let's see. For the years shown on the graph, which year did households save the smallest share of their disposable income? Okay. So do they save the small? So we're looking for savings, which is the dotted line. So which year was that at its lowest? It's down here, isn't it? Yeah, it looks about there. 2005. There we go. Okay, so that was quite easy. You can see the lowest point here of this particular line, the savings line, the disposable income line. Moving on, 38. The scientific revolution of the 16th and 17th century was a time of numerous discoveries in the fields of mathematics, medicine, and science. Which of the following was not a discovery of the scientific revolution? Okay, so this requires a little bit of knowledge of the history of science. But let's have a look. The fact that blood circulates continuously from the arteries to the veins, that was definitely discovered at that time. B, the physical laws governing the motion of objects that have mass and gravity was definitely discovered at that time. The heliocentric view of the solar system, according to which the Earth and other planets revolve around the sun, that was definitely at that time too. So what are we left with? The idea that atoms are composed of smaller protons, neutrons, and electrons. So this particular scientific discovery came before the scientific revolution. Okay, so that's you would have to know a little bit about your history to get that one right. But the answer is D. We'll move on. 39. Which of the following is an essential characteristic of capitalism? Okay, so capitalism. You should know what capitalism is. If you don't know the difference between capitalism and like command economies, socialism, I strongly suggest you do quite a bit of research because these terms come up all the time in the GED. Okay, you can even go to ChatGPT and say, give me the give me the terms in the GED test which are similar to capitalism, and it'll give you. Do the research, make sure you have an idea about these things. So, what is capitalism? A society that is not divided into separate social classes. No, that would be more that's kind of the aim more of a socialist society where you have more equality between people, and eventually leading on to a communist society where you have the complete ownership of the means of production in the hands of the government and no private property at all. So it's not that one. Okay, that's not what capitalism's all about. A government control of all wages and prices. No, that's again more of a socialist thing, where the government controls prices, price control as it's known as, and wages as well. In socialist countries, they try to make wages more equal for all people to try and create some form of egalitarianism. B, state ownership of the banking system. Well, again, that's not what capitalists want. Capitalists want a free market. They don't want the government having control of something as important as a banking system. It should be the free market that dictates these important aspects of the system. So it must be A, private ownership and operation of industry for profit. Yeah, capitalists believe in private property and the protection of private property, private ownership. Also, the operation of industry for profit. Okay, so again, free market economics and all of that. Okay, we'll move on. Last question, I believe. Is that it? No, that's it. Or is it? No, it's not. Question 40 and 41 as well. Okay. Oh, we have a few more. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Question 40. What do we got? Map again. Invasion of the Roman Empire, 100 to 500 CE. So here we have quite a semi-complex map. Here we have all the invaders of the Roman Empire, the Angles, the Saxons, the Franks, the Goths. You don't have to remember all this stuff. You just have to know how to read the map in a logical way. Let's see what the question says. Which of the following can you not tell from the map? Which of the following can you not tell from the map? Let's see. We'll go through them in reverse order. The name of the people who invaded Roman North Africa. Well, here's Southern Europe, and here is North Africa. So that must have been the Vandals. So we can tell that from the map. So it can't be that one. The path through Europe taken by the Huns. So who are the Huns? Huns are the dotted line here. And here we can see the path of the Huns clearly marked through Europe. So we can tell that from the map. So it's not that. B, the time frame for the various invasions of the Roman Empire. Well, we can see them here. It gives us the years. So we can tell that from the map as well. And then the last one, the dates of the invasions of England by the Angles and the Saxons. So here we have the Angles and the Saxons here invading England, and it does not tell us the date of that. There's no date. So it has to be A. We'll move on. 41. Philadelphia was the site of the First and Second Continental Congress and the original capital city of the United States. Which of the following made Philadelphia the logical choice to host the national government? Okay. So it's booming local economy. Would that make it a logical choice? Probably not. It's large ethnically varied population. Probably not. It's not essential to be like the seat of national government. It's year-round temperate climate. Definitely not. It must be A. Its central location in the colonies, okay, the 13 colonies, and the original states. Okay, so it must be this one. Philadelphia had an important geographical location. It was located very centrally, and it was easy then to operate the business of government around that. So it must be A. And that is us, I think. Or do we have one more? We have another one. They're good. We're going to be doing this forever. Maybe not. The following graph for item 42. Percentage of the US population employed. Let's see. Percentage, just looks like an easy graph. Years here along the bottom. So it says, according to the graph, in what year was the greatest share of the US population employed? Okay, so that should be easy enough. It's up here. Okay, it's one of these years. So we're around 2002, 2000, at the highest point, the peak. This is the peak of the graph. It must be here. Okay, it's not 1950, because that was here. Okay, that's irrelevant. 1970 is here. These are way down. 1990 is here. We're getting closer, but this is the peak of the graph in around year 2000. All right. And question 43. Use the following passage for item 43. In the late 18th century, Samuel Slater, the apprentice of an English cotton spinner, brought his knowledge of English textile manufacturing techniques to Rhode Island, New England, and helped to build the first factory in the United States. By the time of the Civil War, there were over 1,200 cotton factories in the US. And so what's the question want from us here? The American cotton textile industry prospered, that means did very well financially, by using English manufacturing techniques and an ample supply of cotton from. Okay, so again, this is from the American South. Okay, this is the time pre-Civil War. This is slavery. These are cotton fields. We have all of that going on. So there was a huge supply, a domestic supply of cotton, which massively bolstered and boosted this industry at that time. Okay. Great Britain, no. India, no. New England, no. You just need to know that little bit of history and you get the answer. And this is the last one, I believe. It is. I'll put a lovely straight line across the page. It says, fill in the blank. The last state to join the United States was, okay, you should know that one was Hawaii. Okay, Hawaii. It was the 50th state. Hawaii. Oh, goodness, you get the idea. That is Hawaii, by the way. 1 second. I can't believe that. It's ridiculous. H-A-W-A. Hawaii. There we go. Lovely square dots. And that's about it. That's the end of this series, guys. I hope you got something out of it. 4 videos jam-packed full of past paper GED social studies action. Join me. In fact, just tell me in the comments or send me a message. What other videos like this would you like to see? I want to help you out. Here at Phuket Pals, we want to help you out. We've loads of good teachers here. What do you want to see? Just let me know. Thank you.